Hello, this is Bill Webb, aka Bill Indiana. Today we're going to take a look at the game Hive, a nice two-player game with some really cool tiles. I've already done an unboxing if you want to check out that video, but in this video we're going to do a quick partial playthrough to show you how the game works, and then I'll give you a review. What do I think about Hive, this game by John Yianni and SmartZone Games? Let's get it to the table. All right, so these are the pieces of the game Hive, a game crawling with possibilities, as the tagline says. And each player has the same number of tiles. So you've got the player with the white tiles and the player with the black tiles. And you've got grasshoppers for both teams, you've got ants for both teams, you've got beetles for both teams, spiders, and a queen bee. Now, the game of Hive is a little reminiscent of chess in that each of these different kinds of pieces moves in a very specific way. There's just no board, you're just playing on an open space. The goal of Hive is to get your opponent's queen bee surrounded by tiles. It could be your own tiles or a combination of your tiles and your opponent's tiles. But when the queen bee is completely surrounded by tiles, the player who has accomplished surrounding the opponent's queen bee wins. So it's a pretty simple goal. The strategy is, though, where it gets a little bit interesting. So let me talk to you a little bit about how each of the pieces move, and then we'll run through a partial playthrough to show you just the game in action. So the grasshoppers can jump over any consecutive string of tiles from one end to another, not at any kind of an angle. You can't like corner it, but just straight over any group of tiles. The ants move around the edge of the hive, and the hive is just a collection of tiles that accumulate on the table, and they can move as far as they want in either direction. The beetles can only move one space at a time around the edge, but they also have the power to be able to climb up on top of the tiles. And if they happen to be on top of another tile, the underlying tile is frozen and can't be used until the beetle moves. The spiders move around the outer edge like the ants, but they can move exactly 3 in either direction around the edge. And then the queen bee only moves one space at a time, can't go up on top, but just one space at a time, and you are trying to not allow your queen bee to get surrounded. Now there are some expansions which I don't have yet, but there are some other tiles. There's a ladybug expansion and a mosquito expansion, and then a pillbug expansion, and those just add more tiles with more special featured bugs, so you may see those out on the market as well. Now the way the game starts is each player will put down one tile, and then obviously the white tile and the black tile will be touching. So perhaps the white player decides to go first and puts their tile down. They choose to put a beetle. And let's say that the black tile player decides to go and put their grasshopper next to that beetle. Now at this point, from this point on, you can never place a tile next to a black tile if you are the white player, and vice versa. So the black player can never put their tiles next to the white tiles. So you always have to put it only next to the same color tile that you're playing with. And every turn you have one of two things you can do. You can either place a tile, or you can move tiles that are already on the table. And the table, the area where they're all connected, is the hive, and you can never move an insect in any way that would break the hive and create two separate isolated portions. So it always has to stay intact and connected. All right, so that's a very brief overview, a little bit about how the different bugs work, what your goal is. Now let's walk through some partial playthrough steps here to show you the flow of the game. So the white player put down the beetle, and the black player put down the grasshopper. So now it's the white player's turn. So let's see, let's have the white player choose to put down the ant. And now they've got 2 tiles on the board. And both players have to put out their queen bee within the first 4 turns. It has to be one of their first 4 tiles played. You could even put it out first if you wanted to, but that would be probably a little bit easier to surround if you put it out that early. So now it's the black tile player's turn. So the black tile player says, I'm going to put a spider right there. All right, now it's the white player's turn. Now each player has 2 tiles, so in their turns from now on, they could choose to place tiles or move tiles. The white player is going to go ahead and choose still to place a tile. So let's see, let's have the white player try this grasshopper on the end there. All right, and now it's the black tile player's turn. Let's see, let's have the black player choose to put a beetle, and they're going to go there. So different strategies here. and then it's back to the white player. Now the white player must put their queen bee out there because this is their 4th turn, so they have to put it out within the first 4. So let's say they decide to put it here. So it's a little risky, but it's early enough in the game, it's not too big, but they've already surrounded it on 2 sides, so there's only 4 sides left to get surrounded for the other player to win the game. But it's early. And then the next player is going to place their queen bee, and let's say they place it there. Now, as you're playing the game, you're thinking about how you can keep your queen bee from getting surrounded. You're also trying to think of how you might be able to set up your tiles to move in the special ways they move, or add tiles in a way that will allow you to surround the other queen bee's tile. Obviously, that's the goal, but you're always trying to think ahead, a little bit like chess. What can I do here? How can I move there? And so at this point, I can still keep placing tiles, but I'm going to choose to move as the white player. And so I'm going to hop it over the top, since it's a grasshopper, and put it right into that spot. So I've put one of my tiles close to the queen bee of the other player now. Now it's their turn. And so let's see. Let's say they're going to take their spider and go 1, 2, 3, and start to come down this side, just trying to show you how the different tiles work. Now it's the white player's turn. So let's say they decide they are going to add an ant here. All right. And now it's the black player's turn. They could continue to move, or they could continue to play other tiles. So let's see. Let's have them go ahead and add an ant here. All right. And now the white player is going to go. Ants can move anywhere around the outer edge as far as they want, so they decide they're going to move all the way down here. And so now they've got 3 sides around this queen bee. And one of the things about movement, once a tile is surrounded in this manner where there's just these small openings on the sides, that tile can't move unless it's like a beetle that has a chance to hop up on top of another tile or jump over a string of tiles. And in fact, this one couldn't move either way, because if they did move, it would isolate this ant. So that one is kind of stuck. Even if it could hop up, it couldn't move in this way. So just explaining some of the other rules. Now it's back to the black player's turn. So this ant they're going to have go all the way around the edge and finish up right here. All right, and now it's back to the white player's turn. And so the white player is going to, a little bit limited on where they can put their tiles at this point. So the white player is going to go here. And the black player is going to add a spider. Actually, I'm going to add a spider here. All right, now I'm not thinking really long about these plays, so it's probably not super strategic, but I want you to get a feel for how the pieces move. And now it's the white player. The beetle moves, and it can move 1 space. Now this bee, it can still slide without disrupting the position, so it's still okay to move here because it's a big opening, 2 sides. And so at this point, the black player's move may be, I'm going to not allow myself to get pinned in, and it can only move 1 space, so the queen bee moves there to try to get a little bit free. Now it's back to the white player. Now the white player cannot move this one because that would isolate the queen bee. And the white player can also not move their queen bee because of the position, how it would isolate these 2. And so the black player is going to go 1, 2, 3 with the spider. The spider always moves 3 along the edge. And so now it's starting to pin in this one, and the white player can't move this because it would isolate the ant. So this is a really clever move by the black player to put that there where the white player is kind of stuck and can't move that queen bee. All right, so now it's back to the white player. And let's see, the white player is going to choose to, let's see, how about putting another ant on here? All right, and now it's back to the black player's turn. And so it would be nice if they could go 1, 2 and stop, but the spider has to move exactly 3 spaces, so they're kind of stuck there if they wanted to move that direction. So they have to think about other options here. So I think what they're actually going to do is just go ahead and put the beetle here. Actually, yeah, the beetle here. No. It's a tricky one because the beetle can only move once. So actually, let's go with the ant instead. All right, let's go with the ant here. We're trying to think a little bit of strategy here on how the black player might win this game. And it's back to the white player now. So the white player is going to move their ant around the edge. They can go as far around the edge as they want, and they're going to go here. And it's the black player's turn. And the black player is going to then pin this in on this side. And then the white player is going to move the ant around to here. And now that's pinned in and can't move out of that spot. But I think the black player's got a pretty good advantage here. So now the black can go 1, 2, 3, and they're really close to pinning in this queen bee. Now the white player is going to think about what they can do up here. So if they go here, let's see, I have to get to where it can be exactly 3 moves, so go here. And then the back to the black player. Let's see, the black player decides to go here. And the white player is going to go 1, 2, 3. So starting to circle it in, but the black player is going to hop over with their grasshopper and surround the queen bee of the white player. And so that's a quick game. I actually ended up playing all the way through. It's a pretty fast game. And like I said, I wasn't playing super strategically or thinking very long about the moves. But my main goal was for you to see how the different pieces move, what the strategy and the goal of the game is. I'm sure if you were watching along, you probably thought, why didn't he do that? What did he make that move for? That wasn't a very smart move. But hopefully at least you understand how the game works and could easily jump in and play your own game if you had this one at your disposal. I love the pieces in this game. Really high quality components, nice thick pieces, and it's a lot of fun to play with. And you can crank out a few pretty good games in a fairly short period of time. So that is how you play Hive. Hopefully that was helpful for you. Now let me tell you, what do I think about it? How would I review this game, Hive? So for my review of Hive and my review of games in general, I like to think about 6 categories: production, theme, mechanisms and decision making, game flow, replay value, and then I kind of give it a personal value, just my own preference in gaming and what I think about this one in light of those preferences. So in terms of production value, I really like this one. I love the thickness of the tiles. They just feel hefty. They look beautiful. The art's nice. There's not a lot to it, so it's not like there's bunches of great components but such a small game. The quality of the materials is really nice, and I just love the feel of it. So even though it's pretty simple, I would still give it a 2 out of 2 on production, because what they have done with this game and this simple game is make some really nice, great feeling parts. Another comment about production value that I want to add is the box is really nice. It's got these cutouts where you put the layers down and it holds them all in nice position as you're storing it. So that's really cool. And then there's also this little pouch, travel pouch, where it's a zipper bag, and you could put the tiles in and just take it easily with you if you want to travel with it and not take the box. So that's another really plus for the production value. For theme, I think it is crawling with theme, excuse the pun, but I love the way that the different bugs move in different ways, and it even makes sense, like the grasshopper hops over top, and the beetle climbs around and can't move fast but can climb up on top of things. And the queen bee is kind of slow but can move a little bit. The spider is a little bit faster, can move around a little bit more, and the ants are really fast, can go all over the place. So that's just the theme, I think, really comes through very clearly. And so I would give it 2 out of 2 on theme as well. For decision making and mechanisms, because there is a different kind of movement for each bug, it does remind me a lot of chess, even though you're not playing on a board. And obviously there's not as many pieces, but I think that same thinking of how do I move this one and that one, and you're strategically trying to think steps ahead. So I think the decision making can be pretty in-depth, and then especially if you chose to invest in those other expansions, the mosquito and the pillbug and the ladybug, then you've got even more pieces and more variability. So I think that the decisions and mechanisms for this kind of a game is pretty deep. I suppose you could actually spend quite a bit more time playing a game. I'm pretty much into making a quick decision. That's a little bit more my style of gameplay, and why I'm not a very good chess player. I'm not patient enough. But I think for this game, the mechanisms of decision making are pretty deep for such a simple game. So I would give it 2 out of 2. For game flow, it's really pretty quick. I suppose you could get hung up with players that have analysis paralysis, that just want to think forever and try to think 4 or 5 steps down the road. And if you were playing a player like that, I could see how that might get a little draggy for you. So I think that is a risk of this game. For me, fortunately, the people that I play with aren't probably going to be thinking that long about their moves, so I don't think for me it would be that big a deal just because of my friends and family. But I think that is maybe something in the game that if you want a game that's moving quickly, but you happen to be playing with someone who really wants to think long-term strategically, I could see this stretching out. And for such a small game, that may really bog down the game flow. It's just hypothetical because I haven't experienced it personally, but I think that is something that could be true of this game. So kind of want to give it a 1.5, but I don't do halves. So I'm going to give it a 1 for game flow just because I do see that potential where someone that wants to play quicker might be facing someone who's really prone to analysis paralysis. In terms of replay value, I think there's enough, especially if you get those expansions, you would probably want to play it a fair bit. So I'm not going to give it a 0, even though it's pretty simple and there's not a lot of variety. But I don't think it's quite worth that 2 either, because I think this would be fun to play, and it is so quick. I can see us playing it a fair bit, but I don't seeing us play it every week. I don't see us playing it all the time. So I think it has replayability, but not to the extreme. So I would give it a 1 out of 2 for replayability. And then for my own personal value, this is one where I'm torn because while I see a limited replayability for my kind of setting, I actually think that this ranks pretty high for me just because it is something that if I don't have a lot of time to play and I only have one other person that can play, it's something I can pull out pretty quick and explain it to somebody really easily and quickly. So I'm really tempted to give it a 2 on that personal level. I usually think of a 0 as a game that I would probably trade away, and 1 is a game I'll probably keep on the shelf but not play that much. And then 2 is a game that I would play often and keep on the shelf for sure. And it's right there on the edge of a 1 and a 2. I think I'll go with a 1 though. I don't think it will come off the shelf quite as much as a lot of the other games that we like and that I enjoy playing, but it's really close. So while I'm giving it that rating, of a 9 overall out of 12, it's really close. Just a couple of them were right on the edge, so it could even be a 10 out of 12. It's a pretty highly rated game in my opinion, because of all of those advantages and strengths that I've mentioned. So hopefully this overview, the quick playthrough and review was helpful for you. If it was, I'd love it if you click that like button down below, and really appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel and follow along. If you want to get notifications for the future videos that I put out, click on that bell icon. And if you've played Hive or you've used the expansions or you have a question about the game, feel free to leave some comments below. I'd love to hear from you. As always, thanks for watching. This is Bill Indiana, signing off.